Good morning. Feels like the right time to review our first week together as we explore the essence of the OASIS experience as the foundation of our process, building a new earth, which is fully aligned with the evolution of our consciousness as a species, as individuals, and especially in this time where the world is clearly going through a major transformation. Many people are cocooning, waiting, which is important. I've mentioned the idea of incubation in our process of the expression of genius and creativity, preparation, incubation, illumination, and expression. So those of you who are incubating, collectively incubating, waiting for the illumination, right? Being in that sweet place of surrender, the divine feminine guiding us through the dark, through the quiet, through this process of cocooning, incubation, remembering the truth in the line, it's only infinite patience that yields immediate results. That those of us that have the capacity to walk with 1 foot in eternity, 1 foot in the world of space-time, from the perspective of eternity, of course, all of this is already complete. All of this has already happened. The full flowering of our third phase of evolution as a species, Homo glimiulus, it's already happened in some of us. I'm one representative of that new species, but it will happen in more and more. And there's the call for the 1,000 points of light, those of us who would step forward in leadership to offer support and guidance to others who have the capacity to listen, to grow, to evolve, to change. We're clearly becoming another form of human being, not a mistake that we hear from the one aspect of this process, the word transhumanism, that we are becoming more than human, at least more than Homo erectus, the tribal mind, more than Homo sapien, the egoic mind. We're becoming more, Homo glimiulus or Homo spiritus. Okay, so there's a great line that the very end, the benediction at the end of A Course in Miracles, where the teacher speaks to us individually, those that have ears to hear, those that are willing to serve as this conduit, as this portal between heaven and earth. The line says, "Through you is ushered in a world unseen, unheard, yet truly there." Okay. Through you is ushered in a world unseen, unheard, yet truly there. Okay, so this is reference to eternity that's using us as its portal, so we might usher in aspects of eternity that would bring humanity out of the gloom, out of the darkness, out of the fear and this part of the necessary cocooning as we move from caterpillar to butterfly. It's a very frightening experience for many. And, again, our role, those of us that have the willingness to follow, to answer the call, we shine this light in the darkness that those who can see it, those that are willing to turn away from the darkness, the fear. It's like Plato's cave. The metaphor is that those in the cave, those that have the limited consciousness, all they're seeing in the cave are the flickering lights of the fire, creating shadows on the walls of the cave. And so the whole world is this shadow world that is very, very frightening. So one who is able to exit the cave and be out in the light of day, he or she might try to relate to those in the cave about this light. And many in the cave won't believe it. They'll think we're making something up. They're more accustomed to the gloom. So it's very important that those of us that are willing to step forward and shine the light, to usher in a world unseen, unheard, yet truly there, that we have the faith, that we have the devotion, dedication, perseverance to do this, to give this gift, even though it might not be well received by the vast majority of those who sit in the darkness. Very important that we have each other, that we find ways to be in community with each other. And I would mention, I'll write about it, make a note when the video is published that I'll start a weekly gathering again after 2 months hiatus, start again this Tuesday morning gathering where those of us that want to be in conscious community can join together in a Zoom call and spend some time together. Very important that we reach out to each other, that we seek out, again, those that have the capacity to represent this new earth. I've talked so much about, the aspect, that we have a body and we have a person that were developed as communication devices for our higher function, but it's the energy body that actually serves as the mechanism for this higher energetic function. Our energy body, which is not our body or our person, our energy body is more what some might have called in the past our soul. It is eternal. It's not limited by space and time at all. So we have the ability to develop a relationship with this energy body, and thereby a relationship with eternity, with reality, with heaven, that which is beyond the limitations of the space-time world. Our relationship with that, with God, the unmanifested, our relationship with that energetic principle is that which we then carry into our space-time world to share with our brothers and sisters, to keep reminding them that this is true, reality is true, and that the illusion, the dream, is simply that. It's an aspect, a small aspect of reality, but definitely does not represent reality in its fullness. So, again, we are called to represent that reality in its fullness and bring acceptance, appreciation, and enthusiasm. So these are the aspects that Eckhart Tolle referred to as the fundamental states of consciousness in a new earth. Acceptance as the minimum, appreciation as the median, and enthusiasm as the inspired, fully energized state of being in this new earth. Okay. This is very well laid out, the whole process of this evolution that I spoke of, that was about a 50-year process from the time that the first seeds were being sown in the late 1960s, early 1970s. And this process now, since 1972, for the past 50 years, bringing us to 2022, where the full flowering begins. And again, as this flowering accelerates, what will accelerate it is an acceleration of the dissolution of the old form, the old structures. Okay, and the process of the dissolution of the old structures will appear very dark, very negative, very frightening. So it is very important that before we enter this period, I mean, we're already in it, but it will only accelerate this year and next. And it's very, very important that we hang together in a very powerful way, that we don't get consumed by this process of dissolution. Okay, so as Eckhart Tolle talked about, as far as death, you know, there's a way that we can die to the world without hurting our body, without enduring physical death. Many people will not have that capacity, and so their way forward will be to drop their bodies, and of course, coming back, reincarnating, as my sister did, now as my daughter Amelie. That people will, that will be the best way they can participate in a new earth, is to drop their body, to leave this physical plane and then return. But for some of us, we can ride the storm. For some of us, we will be here through this very intense, very exciting process. I mean, literally, the world will see things it's never seen before. And seeing it in a new way because of our ability to communicate. You know, there's been many great trials and tribulations in the world in the past, but never in a time when we have a global perspective because of the internet, because of our ability as Homo sapiens. The highest achievement we made as Homo sapiens was developing this means of immediate, instant communication without limitations, without cost, so that what is coming could come globally, immediately. You know, this download that I'm assuming will come sometime, maybe in 2022 or shortly thereafter. There'll be a certain point where the download, basically what I'm sharing here with you on a very, very small scale, will happen on a very, very large scale. And so the world at once will receive this information, this download, this ray of light, this what I called in one of my books, the third pulse. There'll be this energetic pulse that washes over the whole world, and that completes the shift. And then the actual work is the rebuilding of the world with new structures in place that will take the place of the old structures that are clearly no longer serving our species or our mother, our earth. So again, a very exciting time. Again, I've talked a lot in my classes in the past. You can go back to some of my earlier talks that are all recorded here on YouTube to look at an overview of this 50-year process, this process of transformation that began in 1967, more or less came to completion in 2017. This was the preparation, and now we're moving into this process of incubation, waiting for the illumination, which again, like I say, is very real. It's something that I fully understand, that I fully have experienced. This is what, again, I call the OASIS experience. This will be that download where those that have the ability to open themselves to receive this illumination will fully understand what a new earth is, will fully understand what our function now as humans, Homo glimilis, Homo spiritus, understand what it is and understand the way in which individually we open to this possibility. Again, remember the foundation of a new earth is the understanding of what our energetic function is. This is again, the third stage of our evolution. as a species, where we shift our focus from the body and the person to the energy body as the mechanism that we are. And again, I've named mine, and I've always encouraged those that are interested in practicing this to consider a name for their energetic body, their true being, their eternal self. Mine is the Sun King. Okay, so as Sun King, it's very easy for me to fulfill this function. My person, Louis, with the body, could never do this. It would be impossible for a human being, a person, a Homo sapien, to do this. In order to do this, we need to step into this new consciousness, okay? And this reflects back to the mystical statement in the Bible that when thine eye becomes single, thy whole body will be filled with light, that this is the illumination. When there's the singularity that enters our consciousness, where we see, where we grasp, where we fully understand and accept the singularity, the one thing that we are here to do, the fulfillment of our function as the new species, Homo globulus, Homo spiritus, which is to be a direct conscious conduit through which eternity, through which heaven, the space, the timeless realm manifests fully in our world, which is literally the creation of heaven on earth. Okay, so some of us are practicing that now. I've created my own little version of heaven on earth here, my utopia here in Ecuador, where literally the principles of a new earth are free to be expressed without limitation, without interference patterns. And this is what we'll see manifesting all over the earth in a very short while. So I welcome those that have ears to hear, to consider becoming a part of this. Doesn't mean coming to Ecuador, it just means connecting with this teaching, connecting with this energetic principle that I'm expressing as Sun King, to become a part of that, to become integrally a part of that. No longer a part of the old world, the old structures, to make a clear decision to move out of that world and into this world. Okay, it's very doable. It's something that I have done, and many others like me have done, and we are called to be these 1,000 points of light that will keep this light steady as the whole world goes into extreme chaos and darkness. I mean, what happened in 2020 is nothing as compared to what is coming in the next year or two. But we will survive. It's all written in our destiny as a species that we will survive, that this is a necessary part of the rebirthing process, the dying, again, the dissolution of the old forms so that new forms might arise. And you see it happening before your eyes. You see it happening in politics and economics and religion and pretty much everything. You just see the end of old forms. The end of this, this old idea that we had, especially in North America. The old American dream is now a nightmare, and we need a new dream, and again, it might appear to be a dream at first, but a new reality to replace the old one, which is clearly worn out, clearly overstayed its welcome. So we are here to do this. Remember, when thine eye becomes single, thy whole body is filled with light, to focus on this singularity, to focus on the one thing. And in simple terms, the one thing is evolution. I use the word evolution because it speaks to the singularity, what is happening always in our life. Everything is moving us individually, and now we see it happening collectively, forces that are moving us in the direction of our quote unquote future. Again, it's not really the future, because from the perspective of eternity, it's already done. This is why I said it. You know, I've been able to have, because of the way my consciousness operates, glimpses of this, and I saw, you know, the full flowering, which will come in 2032. That you know, this is real. It's already it's already complete. It's just a matter of how it plays out in the space-time world. But remember, if you step out of that, you can see the whole picture. You can see everything from the beginning of time till the end of time, everything. Now, we can't always understand everything, because I think, you know, beyond 2032, I can't really see how things appear, but we will. I mean, again, our mind just simply has to shift in a way where we see ourselves and we see our world in terms that aren't really human at all anymore. I mean, still, it doesn't mean it eliminates us, you know, the bodies and the persons, but but there's a deep recognition of the bodies and the persons simply as communication devices, no different than a laptop. Okay, that the point is that these mechanisms are being used by our greater selves. Okay, these giants, these gods and goddesses, these kings and queens. I mean, it's a new human is not just walking the earth, is actually now in charge of, is now given the keys to the kingdom, and that the earth will operate on totally different principles. So it might seem impossible, only 10 years or so away, but what's going to happen in the next decade is going to be so remarkable. So, you know, beyond the ability for us to fully fathom how in reality this could evolve, and how it could be such a remarkably great thing, that this thing that would appear at first so evil and so dark could in fact serve this magnificent transformation of us as a species. That's, again, I've been talking about that so much so you can appreciate that, you know, the necessity of what appears to be evil, the necessity of this principle, the Luciferic principle, is a deep necessity. And most of those that can really appreciate that have experienced that Luciferic principle in their own lives, seen how the very worst thing that seemingly could ever happen ends up being the very thing that sets us free. And so that's exactly what's now happening at the collective level. The very worst thing that you could imagine for us as a species is happening so that we might become free. Think about that. Meditate on that. The worst thing that you could possibly imagine for our species, which is exactly the same thing at the individual level. You could say the worst thing that could happen for me as an individual entity would be, say, my death. That would seem to be the worst thing. And yet that very thing would be what sets me free. Okay, and so it's only because I've died several times already in this lifetime that I have been able to not only taste, but now live in the embrace of this freedom. Okay, die. So what we are going to see on a global scale is the death of most everything that we have known, including most human beings. Okay, that's a necessity. Okay, that's what's being called for. And, you know, you could say at one level, then this is what the New World Order wants for their nefarious purposes, but they don't even realize how they are serving the magnificent transformation that is happening right now. They can't even see fully. You know, they might think that they're like God and they can make this happen, but they're actually not God. They're not fully the unmanifested, the evolutionary principle that is way more powerful than they are. But they're participating in it in the best way they know how, just like I am, and just like I hope you are. for us to participate in this, to be fully participatory, is key. That it should be right now the only thing that you think about is, wow, there's this one thing going on. I really believe Sun King talking about this one thing, the one thing, and I'm participating in that one thing to whatever degree your consciousness allows you to participate. Like I'm bringing acceptance, appreciation, and possibly enthusiasm to this transformation that's happening to our species and our world. That's key, to see it from at least this level of acceptance, but ideally appreciating it. And if you're able to participate in the way that I'm participating, you can easily have enthusiasm for it because you see that this is your greatest opportunity. It's your greatest opportunity to give your highest gifts to the world. And that could be compassion, love, creativity, whatever. I mean, it's like, this is the key, that you see this as an amazing opportunity, a great opportunity, a beautiful opportunity for you, for everybody. And like I say, it may not appear that way to most. If they're still locked in their tribal consciousness, they're just simply going to be afraid because they see what's coming, which is death. Okay, death of the body, that's a frightening thing to one locked in the tribal mind. And to the egoic mind, it's very confusing, it's very upsetting. Most of the people that are angry because this is not jiving with their idea, their egoic idea of what is supposed to be. Remember, the key motto of the ego is, this should not be. So you look at the world, what's going on, and the ego clearly says, this should not be. The tribal mind is just frightened because we're all going to die. That's what the caterpillar sees the evolution of the butterfly as the end of the world. That's what it sees. So again, you could be in that fearful place, you can be in that angry place, or you can choose to be in a new earth with acceptance, appreciation, and enthusiasm. So in my enthusiasm as Sun King, clearly fulfilling my function every day to the best of my ability with you. Thank you for listening. And I think, even though tomorrow's Sunday, I think I'll be back tomorrow. We'll see. Actually, there is no tomorrow. It's always today. So thank you for today. See you today.